Jury selection is underway in the federal murder trial of accused Charleston Church shooter Dylann Roof. Today, a judge granted a motion saying he could represent himself. We'll have a live report from Charleston coming up. Plus,
it's not real. You go numb. It's not supposed to happen. Sorry.
Terror in Buckeye territory after police say a suspect used a knife and a car to injure nearly a dozen people at Ohio State University. The latest on what police are calling a possible terrorist incident. And the First Alert Weather Team is monitoring possible severe weather this week. What you need to know right now on the News at 4.
Live, local, now. This is WIS News 10.
Welcome everyone to the News at 4. I'm Sam Blauweiss. We'll have much more on the Dylann Roof case and developments in the Ohio State shooting in just a moment. But right now we want to get to breaking news we're following this afternoon. Columbia police are questioning a person of interest in a morning shooting as the victim is now fighting for her life. Harbison West Elementary School was put on a brief lockout right after that shooting. It happened this morning at Harbison Gardens Apartments at Harbison Station Circle. That's near the Columbiana Center Mall. And that is where we find our Billie Jean Shaw, who is getting new details at this hour. Billie Jean?
Sam, right now the victim is in surgery at a local hospital. Now the shooting happened here at this building 1800 in the apartment complex. Right now we do not have a description or the identity of the suspect, but police say this did stem from a domestic dispute. Now they responded to the scene around 11:45 this morning. The suspect is accused of shooting a woman in the head and running on foot. Investigators say the victim knows the shooter, while neighbors tell me the two were involved in a relationship. People who live in the area say this is a scary situation, especially because innocent bystanders, especially children, could have been injured.
It could have hit when it's somebody else's apartment. It could have flew out and hit somebody that could have been walking by. You know, you never know what the situation or circumstance could be. It's sad and it's devastating.
Right now, police are still on scene investigating and talking to neighbors as well to gather any information. If you have any info about this shooting, you are asked to call Crime Stoppers at 1-888-CRIME-SC. For now, live in Columbia, I'm Billie Jean Shaw, WIS News 10.
All right, Billie Jean, thank you. Following up for us this afternoon. And developing right now, shocking news out of a Charleston courtroom today. The accused Charleston Church shooter will represent himself. Our Chad Mills is live in Charleston with the latest this afternoon. Chad, what do we know?
Well, Sam, it happened almost immediately after Judge Richard Gergel took the bench this morning. Last week, Judge Gergel decided that Roof is competent to stand trial, but this morning he decided that the 22-year-old who's from the Columbia area can represent himself in federal court, where he is facing not only the death penalty, but also 33 federal indictments. Very serious stuff. Media cameras, as you probably know, are not allowed inside the courtroom in federal court, but this courtroom sketch gives you an illustration of what it looked like after that big decision. Roof's nationally renowned defense attorney David Brock moved his papers and notes away from the aisle, and the 22-year-old suspect took the lead seat at the end of the table. He now sits directly across the aisle from Jay Richardson, the federal prosecutor hoping to send Roof to death row. Richardson was wearing a suit. Roof was wearing his black and gray Charleston jail jumpsuit. 7 jurors were selected today, and Richardson would often stand up and ask questions or state objections as Judge Gergel called up the prospective jurors one by one. Roof, however, was a man of few words today, usually responding to the judge with simple yes or no answers. Roof's attorneys still sit beside him, though. They haven't been fired. Instead, they're acting in a standby capacity, and at first, Roof wasn't making too much eye contact with David Brock, the lead attorney, at one point, but during the rest of the day, Brock would often lean over to Roof and advise him in his ear, so it appears that they still do have some kind of working relationship as jury selection continues here in Charleston. Live in Charleston, Chad Mills, WIS News 10.
And new details in another high-profile case we are following. Court is back in session after the holidays for former North Charleston police officer Michael Slager. Slager is charged with murder in the shooting death of Walter Scott in April of 2015. Today, several North Charleston officers took the stand to testify to active shooter training at the department. Officers say the department holds training once a year, and under certain circumstances, shooting someone in the back is justified.
I've been tased before, and I know what it's capable of doing. If I couldn't overpower them and they had my taser, then I might possibly shoot them as well.
Now, officers also testified if someone takes an officer's taser, it's considered a felony. The defense expects to present 2 more days of testimony, and we'll have more from today's proceedings coming up on the news at 5.
Well, there's something showing up on satellite radar that we have not seen in quite a while, and it is this: a good bit of rain soaking the south. We really could use it. The big question is, will this make it to the east? Now, there are some cooler temperatures because of the rain and also because it's a cold front that's moving in. In the meantime, our temperatures are actually on the way up ahead of the system moving through. So 60s and yes, some 70s, but we'll go even warmer than that over the next 48 hours. For now, it's just going to be an increase in cloud cover and mild temperatures. Let me show you the timing of this round of rain that's going to roll through, and there will be 2 rounds with this next system. The first will try to arrive overnight. Futurecast wants to spit out a little shower or 2 ahead of this, but I think that's maybe a little bit too ambitious on the part of Futurecast. But by early morning, we could have a few showers around the area. This will be round 1. It's not very impressive. Most of it dries up by the afternoon, but it could bring us at least a chance for rain tomorrow. Now, there will be 2 rounds. We'll have another round come through Wednesday. Coming up, I'm going to talk about that. I'm also going to talk about the severe threat and what happens after this front. I'll give you the complete breakdown of your forecast, Sam. I'll have that for you coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, Rob, thank you.
You got it.
Well, making national headlines today, investigators say the suspect in a morning attack is Abdul Arten. They say he was an 18-year-old man of Somali descent. 9 people were injured and taken to the hospital after that attack. CNN's Kim Hutcherson has the latest.
Monday morning at Ohio State University in Columbus, the warning came. Active shooter on campus. Run, hide, fight. The campus went on lockdown as police and SWAT teams rushed to the scene. Students and employees sheltered in dorms and classrooms, blocking the doors with whatever they could find. They distributed images of what they saw on social media and spoke to news organizations from their hiding places.
It's very hectic here right now. There's like 40 cop cars. Everyone's very frantic, and all the SWAT teams are getting together, and cops are still pulling up.
Before noon, the shelter-in-place alert was lifted. Witnesses began recounting what they saw.
It's not supposed to happen. Sorry. We barricaded ourselves in our rooms like we were taught. Turned off our lights and just hunkered down.
And authorities started piecing together details of what happened.
A male suspect drove a vehicle, struck pedestrians. He exited the vehicle and used a butcher knife to start cutting pedestrians. Our officers was on scene in less than a minute, and he ended the situation less than a minute. He engaged the suspect and he eliminated the threat. The suspect is DOA.
Now, officials are trying to determine a motive for the horrific attack. I'm Kim Hutcherson reporting.
And this afternoon, all buildings except for the Student Academic Services building reopened for students and staff to go get their personal items, and several roads around the campus are still closed. Well, new details this afternoon in the hunt for a man police say is responsible for a string of robberies in Richland County. 52-year-old Benjamin Curse is now wanted for assault. Deputies say Curse stole polo shirts and jackets costing around $1,400 from the Belk at the Village at Sand Hill in Northeast Columbia. They say that Curse assaulted a Belk employee while running away from the scene. If you have any information about where he is, call Crime Stoppers at 1-888-CRIME-SC. New details in the Pinnacle Mountain fire. As of the latest update, the blaze now spans more than 10,000 acres and it's about 50% contained. Currently, there are no evacuations in place. Firefighters are continuing to secure the northeast side of the fire in Pickens County, strengthening fire breaks and conducting a burnout operation just north of the Table Rock Reservoir toward Buzzard Mountain Road. If successful, this action will stop the spread of the fire to the east, and the estimated cost of fighting this fire totals $4 million, and that does not include county costs. And a close call today after a woods fire broke out. Columbia fire officials say it happened in the area of Bynum Road and McCord's Ferry Road in Eastover and spanned 5 acres. Officials say 20 firefighters were on hand to knock down that fire and no significant damage was reported. Still no word, though, on how that fire got started. Authorities are still looking for a missing Newberry County man who has dementia. Donnie Richardson was last seen walking down Lake Street towards Main Street in Newberry Saturday night after about 10 o'clock in the evening. He was wearing a beige shirt and dark pants. Richardson is described as 5 foot 6 inches tall, about 160 pounds, has one eye. Authorities do believe he may be in the Lexington area. You are asked to call 911 if you see Mr. Richardson. Next at 4, Cubans around the world are mourning the loss of Fidel Castro, and some are celebrating. And we'll have much more on that coming up. Plus, there is a couple hundred families that still need to be adopted for Christmas. We'll have much more on that as well coming up after the break.
Quick look at your traffic. Everything pretty good right now. Lots of green on the map, but a few accidents we want to tell you about. 3. I'll get to 2 of these first. 378, that's at I-20, so be careful if you're in that area. Again, not causing too many problems, but it is going to be a little bit of a slowdown here. And there's Long Creek Drive. There's an accident there on the north side of town. Let me take you down a little farther to the south. 321, there's an accident at Aiken Street. A lot of green on the map, but the volume hasn't quite picked up. I'll be back in a bit with a look at that forecast. Yes, Sam, it does include rain.
All right, thank you, Rob. Well, today marks the start of the Heroes in Blue's second annual Feed an Officer campaign in the Midlands. That effort was started last year by Cassie Alia, wife of fallen Forest Acres police officer Greg Alia, as a way to show appreciation for our local law enforcement. More than 200 officers were fed lunch across 14 stations last year, and this year they're hoping to feed all officers in Richland and Lexington counties. To participate, people donate money to restaurants, and on the final day, the funds raised are used to donate lunch or gift cards to those officers.
This community stands unified, it stands together in love, and we are armed with that love and compassion to be a model for positive change, and that's what we're showing in this campaign, and I'm so proud.
Now, the campaign runs today through December 11th. The lunches will be delivered on December 14th, which is Officer Greg Alia Day in Richland County and in Forest Acres. For a full list of all of the participating restaurants, or if you know of a restaurant that still wants to participate, visit this story on WISTV.com. Former Cuban dictator Fidel Castro died this weekend after battling an illness for years. Cuba is in mourning. Scott McLean is in Havana with the latest.
Fidel Castro hasn't been president here for several years, but he has been a towering force on this island for nearly 6 decades. In the United States, many Cuban Americans are cheering his death, while here in Cuba, it's a much more somber tone. During this period of mourning, 9 days in total, there's no music, there's no liquor sales, even baseball games have been canceled. Tomorrow, a cannon salute is being planned every hour on the hour, and people are already starting to line up in the Plaza de la Revolucion to view Castro's ashes.
Tyrant, dictator, revolutionary. Fidel Castro was many things to many people. The 90-year-old former Cuban president died over the weekend, leaving his country, at least officially, in mourning. Castro hadn't held power since 2008, when sickness forced him to transfer power to his brother Raul. But his passing undoubtedly marks the end of an important chapter in Cuban history and leaves many Cubans wondering what might change without the man who led the nation's revolution.
He was a symbol, and now this symbol is gone.
Many Cuban exiles in Miami cheered Fidel Castro's death, so many whose families were forever separated. They hope it leads to a brighter future on the island.
We are celebrating the future freedom of Cuba, because we believe that after this moment, many things are going to change in Cuba.
But in Havana, no one is celebrating. On Saturday, students at the University of Havana, where Castro once studied, chanted, "I am Fidel," to honor his death.
He was not only an example to Cuba, he was an example to America Latina, and I believe that he was an example to the entire world.
Castro was cremated on Saturday. Mourners will have a chance to view his ashes for 2 days before they're taken east to Santiago de Cuba, where his funeral and burial will take place.
And even dissidents are toning it down. The Ladies in White, they're a well-known dissident group here in Cuba. They canceled their weekly demonstration so as not to provoke the authorities, and also to show some respect for those Cubans who are mourning. In Havana, Cuba, I'm Scott McLean.
And back home, USC basketball coach Frank Martin is a first-generation American born to Cuban exiles. Coming up on the news at 6, hear his take on Castro's death and the future of Cuba as well. So many things going on today. Of course, we were talking about the fires, and I know we really need some rain.
We do. The drought still taking over, getting worse. If we don't see rain and continue to see rain, it's going to be a problem. The drought, the western part of the state, really needs it, and look to the west, there it is. The timing of this, 2 rounds of rain, the severe threat, and what happens after it moves through, it's all coming up. happy to see rain in the forecast. And when you look outside, you can see the first hints that something is on the way. The clouds have rolled in today. We also have a southeast wind that's kicking in. And, well, all of those things together mean that we will see the temperatures warm up and we'll see that chance for rain get a little bit closer. Winds calm now, but they'll be picking up overnight as this warmer air moves in. 70s along the coast, 50s to the north and west. Again, we are watching this front that's back to the west. I walked you through the timing a little bit earlier for tonight and tomorrow. But remember, I said this is going to be 2 rounds. There's round 1. Doesn't amount to very much. Through tomorrow midday or so, maybe a few showers. Most of this is going to dry up. We'll try to see a few showers here into the evening as well. And then we get a break. The system will start to get a little bit better organized. So there's early Wednesday morning, a break from the rain as the front gets a little better organized. And then the front is going to try to roll through sometime during the evening, maybe right around sunset or so on Wednesday. This is the one that we think will bring us a better amount of rain, but also it's going to have a severe threat that's going to go along with it. It's a small severe threat, but it is definitely there. It'll move on by early Thursday morning. We may take out the rain chance if this moves fast enough, but for now we'll leave an early morning chance in there for Thursday. So 56 for tonight. We'll kick up those southeast winds as the mild air moves in and the humidity increases as well. This will help the fire danger, especially if we can get some of these showers in those locations that desperately need it. And yeah, back into the upper 70s for tomorrow. I'll keep that 40% chance of rain in there, but that's really going to ramp up once we get into Wednesday because it's the warmest day, nearly 80 degrees, and you can tell it's a cold front because look what it does to the temperatures. Really cools us down once that cooler air moves in. But it's that contrast between the warmer air out ahead of this front and the cooler air trying to sneak in behind it that leads to the possibility for some stronger storms. Now, where they do have that chance for severe weather this afternoon is much farther to the south into parts of Mississippi and into parts of Louisiana. That is going to slide a little bit east. It's a slow-moving system for your Tuesday, but once we get into Wednesday, it moves our way, and it's only a marginal threat. Now, this may be changing, maybe updating as we get a little closer to the event. So we'll keep you updated on what our threat for severe weather is going to be. Here's the 7-day forecast. Once you get through that rainy chance, and by the way, we're wrapping it up with a 40% chance on Thursday. We'll clear things out and really cool things down. Partly cloudy skies on Friday will become mostly sunny skies on Saturday. But look at the change in your temperatures. We cool it down into the 60s for highs and overnight lows in the 30s. I hope we're able to get some appreciable rain out of this system. Coming up, the USC men's basketball team are moving on up. The Gamecocks now ranked in the AP poll. We'll have details on where they landed coming up.
Well, the numbers are in today's Consumer Alert. Holiday shoppers may be a little more careful about how they're spending their money this year. The National Retail Federation says more than 154 million people shopped in stores and online on Black Friday weekend. That's actually 3 million more shoppers than last year, but each consumer spent on the average $10 less than they did in 2015. The Retail Federation attributes the drop to more discounts being available to consumers. And this afternoon, maybe as you do some shopping, we are sending out a big thank you to everyone who adopted a family in this year's Families Helping Families project. But of course, we are inching closer to Christmas, and we still have 300 families left to be adopted. We have some volunteers ready to take your call right there. You're looking live into our Families Helping Families phone bank. The number to call is 758-1020. Also, we want to let you know as well, if you adopted a family, now is the time to gather all of those gifts and take them to the Families Helping Families warehouse. This year, the warehouse is located at the old Piggly Wiggly location. That's at 7451 Garners Ferry Road, right across from Lowe's. The warehouse will be open Monday through Saturday, starting again today from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. And it will be open through next Saturday, December 10th as well. And if you have already given to Families Helping Families and still have the giving bug, we have you covered. There's a story posted on WISTV.com for local opportunities to give or donate during the holidays. Just look under your top headlines on the homepage. Well, for the first time this season, the USC men's basketball team has entered the AP Top 25 poll.
That's pretty impressive,
yeah,
right? Gamecocks 6-0 on the season. They enter the poll at number 20. After an impressive week that saw them defeat 2 ranked teams, Michigan, Syracuse. Gamecocks are going to return to Colonial Life Arena on December 1st. They're going to play Vermont. Tip-off is at 6:30. And I just want to mention the Families Helping Families thing. When I was younger, we were not as fortunate, and someone had adopted our family.
Really?
So someone had given to me, and I still remember that to this day. you know, really nice items that this family was able to buy for me specifically. So if you can give, I mean, it really means a lot. Even I, to this day, hold on to that.
Yeah.
So seriously.
Seriously, the impact is huge. It's huge.
It really is good stuff. Rain is on the way. It will arrive starting tomorrow, but a better chance on Wednesday, maybe with some storms.
All right, thank you, Rob. Thanks everyone for joining us for the News at 4. We will be back for your News at 5. We'll see you then.